I rolled my suitcase with the rainbow stickers behind me, checking my name and room number on the printout. Dylan O'Rourke, room 757. The Mandalay Bay Resort and Hotel celebrates the O'Rourke and Whitley wedding party. It was one of several rooms reserved for the groom's party. My older brother, Dennis, was getting married this weekend. Saturday morning, actually. His bride, Stephanie Whitley, wanted a destination wedding in Las Vegas. And when Stephanie wants something, the universe tends to rearrange itself accordingly. We're originally from Atlanta. You can't choose your family, but you can support them, even if it means spending tuition money on a cross-country round trip and an Italian tux to match the other groomsmen. Like Dad always said, family is family. I believed that was supposed to make everything okay. I should have arrived yesterday with the rest of the family, but midterms had other plans. Go, Georgia State Panthers! It didn't matter that I was late. The bachelor party was tonight. The rehearsal dinner was yesterday, and the wedding was tomorrow morning at 10. What I hadn't planned on was sharing the hotel with the Las Vegas Con-Con. A full-blown sci-fi fantasy comic convention. Cosplayers everywhere. Merc tables in the lobby. The whole thing humming like a warp core. I'd packed my Star Trek, the Next Generation communicator pin on a whim. 2 of the Star Trek Destiny cast were supposed to be here, and honestly, that made the trip worth it. Dennis and I weren't close. 4 years between us might as well have been 40. Our lives only intersected at Christmas, Thanksgiving, and the occasional guilt-driven family dinner. Somehow, Mom and Dad convinced him I had to be a groomsman. The others were all his friends, guys who'd known each other since high school, partied through college, played baseball together, a complete social circle with no empty seats. I felt like a goose invited to a party of prize-winning Rottweilers. I didn't know the others, not really. They knew me only as the bratty little brother who used to steal Dennis's hoodies and break his Xbox controllers. So I borrowed the hoodies because they were cool, but the controller, I was 10 and accidentally stepped on it. And now I scared them. Not because I dressed weird or acted weird, but because I'm gay. I'd overheard Dennis on speakerphone while conference calling with his friends. They didn't want to room with me. They didn't want me in the groom's changing room. They wanted separate bathrooms. They wondered why I was being forced on them. Wouldn't it be easier if I wasn't included? Dennis had said our parents insisted. He wasn't wrong. When Mom gets an idea, she becomes a Category 5 hurricane of determination. Mom and Dad weren't comfortable around me either. I think they both wanted me to bond with my brother, and hoped my brother would keep me from embarrassing the family. After all, I'm the only gay person in my family, my extended family, and anyone remotely connected to the family. The groomsmen complained I'd ruined the vibe of the bachelor party because I was only 20 and couldn't legally drink. And worse, Chase Bennett, the best man, had said the party wouldn't be gay-friendly. It took a moment for it to process. They didn't want me around because I was gay? I was too shocked to be offended. That would come later. Not gay-friendly. A backhanded insult made to sound nice. It didn't come across as nice. Evidently, Chase had already arranged the entertainment, probably the cliché topless girl in a cardboard cake. Gay-friendly. I hadn't even known there was a category. Apparently, I was a threat to the ambiance. I should have confronted my brother, should have said, find another groomsman. Instead, I said yes. Still, I barely knew these guys and was dreading this weekend. I found my room, inserted the key, and quite literally thought, Which guy is unlucky enough to have me as a roommate? I almost laughed when I saw who was sitting on one of the beds channel surfing. Mr. Jeffrey Whitley, the bride's dad. Hey friends, Gio and Bentley sending our greetings. Welcome and pull up a chair. Before we begin, Bentley would really appreciate it if you left a like, a comment, or even subscribed. It would make his day. Chapter 2. Mr. Jeffrey Whitley sat on the edge of the bed like he'd been waiting for a dentist appointment, remote in hand, flipping through the channels with the resigned patience of a man who had already accepted his fate. He looked up when I came in. "Oh," he said, blinking behind his glasses. "You must be Dylan." I nodded, dragging my suitcase inside and letting the door click shut behind me. "And you must be not one of the groomsmen." He laughed, a warm, tired sound. "No, thank God. Stephanie's mom and I are divorced, so they stuck me here because they had no other place for me. Apparently the groom's party is lively. I'm not lively. My ex said I'm pretty boring. I like boring." Translation: They were loud, drunk, and allergic to responsibility. Jeffrey was the adult in the room. I set my suitcase by the dresser. "So they dumped you with me?" "My brother's gay," he said, clicking the TV off and set the remote aside. "I don't see what their problem is." "You don't have to worry about me," I said, and meant it. "It looks like I'm going to be just as boring." He raised an eyebrow. "You're in Vegas, you're young, and you don't have an ex-wife with the vocal cords of a hyena. Don't waste the opportunity." "At my brother's wedding," I said, "the potential just became zero." "Don't hold yourself back because I'm here." He smiled, and something in my chest unclenched. I hadn't realized how tightly I'd been holding myself until that moment, bracing for judgment, for awkwardness, for the sideways glances I'd overheard on the speakerphone. But Mr. Whitley just looked normal, kind, like a man who'd been through enough weddings to know when to pick his battles. "You hungry?" he asked. I was about to go downstairs and find something that won't kill me before the wedding tomorrow. I received a text from my brother. "Can you check on Chase? He left his phone up here. His room is 753. I hesitated. "Looks like I'm on call. Rain check?" "Your family this weekend," he said. "Don't let anyone make you feel otherwise." I wasn't sure anyone else in the groom's party felt that way. I found the clothes I'd packed and changed. A silk navy blue button-down, gray slacks with a lighter gray jacket, a spritz of Hugo Boss, a quick dose of product to my hair with a stylized swerve, and my highlighted light brown hair was totally healthy, stylish, and ready to party. And somewhere down the hall, Chase Bennett, the best man, the guy who declared the bachelor party not gay-friendly, was waiting. Waiting with his plans, waiting with his assumptions, waiting with his bias, his unease, his quiet intolerance. Vegas was already starting to feel like a trap, a glittering neon-lit trap with my name on it. And I was walking straight into it. How did the joke start? A gay man walked into a straight bachelor party. Chapter 3. I knocked 3 times. Knock, knock, knock. The door looked exactly like mine. I waited a moment and knocked again. "Dennis needs you upstairs," I yelled. "Just a minute," came a voice from inside. The door whipped open. Chase stood there, shirtless, dark hair, olive skin, deep eyes, short trimmed hair across his pecs. Damn, this was the guy who didn't want me as a groomsman? My eyes focused on his chest before I focused on his nose. He swallowed before asking, "What do you want?" I ignored the annoyance in his voice. Dennis needs you. Didn't say why. Chase glanced at me, pursing his lips and squinting a touch before speaking. Do you know anything about red wine on shirts? Of course you do. You're gay. Was that a backhanded compliment, or simply a frustrated man? Swallowing my pride, I simply said, Show me. He led me to the sink where his light yellow shirt lay on the counter, a violet stain spreading across it. I was stupid. New shirt, and I thought I could handle a wine glass and carry one of the smaller speakers for the DJ. I'll need a towel, I replied. Chase handed me a towel, and I used it to gently blot the wine stain. That's a nice cologne, I said. What is it? Chase immediately blushed. Acqua di Gio by Armani. It suits you. Quickly changing the subject, Chase replied, You wouldn't believe how much that shirt cost. I was going to wear it tomorrow at the wedding, part of the groomsman uniform. I filled the sink with cold water. I read the tag. That's a Hermes. One of those cost as much as my month's rent. I should have gone with a cheaper shirt, like everybody else, but this I couldn't resist. I figured I could reward myself because I just received a promotion. I softly rinsed the stain before it could set and looked about for soap. The bottle of lavender-scented liquid soap sitting on the counter would have to do. Do you have another shirt? Just something casual, a t-shirt. I can't wear that to a bachelor party, not this one. Because it's not gay-friendly, I almost said, but kept my mouth and my bitterness to myself. I spread the liquid soap across the stain, liberally covering every bit of purple. Let it sit. I'll be right back. A hint of panic tainted Chase's voice. Where are you going? Back to my room, cute stuff. I had left Chase's room before I kicked myself. Cute stuff? Why did I even say that? I had to admit it. He was cute and very much a man, and was it wrong to imagine my hand rubbing through the hair on his chest? Probably. Best keep that to myself. Jeffrey was gone when I got to my room. I retrieved the hydrogen peroxide from my suitcase. Always come prepared for situations like this, and on a whim, found one of my spare shirts. Chase didn't even want me involved. So why was I being kind? My grandma Agnes had this philosophy. The best revenge is to look your enemy in the eye and then kill them. Long pause. And then she always added, with kindness. Why? I had asked. She smiled and in a covert whisper said, It keeps them wondering what you're really up to. Chapter 4. Once again, I knocked 3 times. Knock, knock, knock. Chase answered, but this time he was wearing a Lincoln Park black t-shirt. His eyes were wide, his mouth grim, and his hands never stopped twitching. Dennis will be so mad at me. I handed him the shirt and ordered, Go change. You have a party to preside over. Hurry. While he did that, I applied the hydrogen peroxide to the stain. The peroxide, among other uses, is a stain lifter. Leaving the shirt to sit and let the chemical do its work, I wandered into the main room. Just like mine. 2 queen-size beds, a wall monitor, a desk, and 2 chairs. Chase was tucking in the shirt, a pale blue that was a little tight on his arms and chest, but as far as I was concerned, it fit perfect. He ran to the bathroom, and I glanced about the room. Suitcases for 2 people. I recognized my brothers. They were best friends, so it only made sense. Resting against one wall was a pale guitar with a Lincoln Park sticker on it. It wasn't Dennis's. He was about as musically inclined as I was. Random clothes lay around, and an open notebook sat on the desk, a pen nearby. It was open to a poem Chase had written, or maybe it was song lyrics. Bad boys wish they went to heaven. Good boys want to go to hell. Saints get lost in their own virtue. Sinners know themselves too well. I thumbed back a page and wished I hadn't. There was a checklist. DJ setup. Done. Dry cleaning. Done. Bachelor party. Bring toast. Check tuxes are at the venue. Done. Wake up for wedding by 7:30. Wedding lineup 10 minutes before 10. Those were normal. My gut sunk when I read the last item on the list. Keep clear of Dylan. Now that's a gay-friendly line. It hit like a sucker punch. Suddenly, my mouth tasted sour, almost like the aftermath of vomit. I needed a beer. Too bad I'm underage. Of course Chase wrote it down. Not just thought it, wrote it. A reminder, like picking up dry cleaning or setting an alarm. Avoid the gay guy. Wouldn't want me to ruin their vibe. A handle wiggled from the bathroom. I took the pen, wrote "done" next to the "keep clear of Dylan," stepped away from the notebook, and wondered if I had time to take a picture. The bathroom door opened. Nope, no time. Would anyone notice if I didn't go? Dennis had invited his friends and co-workers, and it added up to 20 guys. They didn't want me there, and after reading Chase's checklist, I didn't want to go either. My stomach soured. Chase stepped out, looking sharp in my shirt. Why couldn't I look that good wearing it? Ready? His shoulders were held a little too tightly, and his eyes glanced about the room, landing momentarily on the notebook. I had the perfect excuse to duck out. I'll run the hydrogen peroxide back to my room and follow. Chase seemed about to say something, but nodded. Besides, I said, unable to keep my mouth shut but kept the bitterness just barely in check, the party's not gay-friendly, so it's okay if I'm late, but you're the best man. Get your shoes in the elevator. Chase gave me that guilty look. You know the one, like he stole money from Dad's wallet and just realized Mom had caught him. I think he swore under his breath. I can explain, he mumbled, his face growing pale. I wasn't in the mood for any lame excuses, so I simply said, just get in the elevator before Dennis gets furious. Chase's shoulders were tense before, but now? We need to talk, he said. No, we don't. After tomorrow, you never have to see me again. The door closed behind us. I went back to my room and Chase headed to the elevators. 19 straight guys. It would be a wild frat house night of drinking and topless chicks. They didn't need me. They would never know I wasn't there. My stomach twisting with anger, my heart aching with disappointment. I made a decision. Time to think of me. Chapter 5. I took the elevator down to the casino level, avoided the bar, and found the restaurant. Jeffrey had his phone out and was listening to a basketball game. I didn't want that. I wanted something to make me feel alive, important. Music with a heavy vibe ripe for dancing thrummed in the air. The hotel had multiple banquet halls. One for my brother's wedding. Something else was happening in another. Following the music, I found out why. The lights had dimmed in another banquet hall. Lights strobed, colors throbbed, the air was heavy with pyrotechnic smoke. I peeked inside. Nobody stopped me. A dance hall. People in sequined dresses and dazzling shirts. Then I stopped. Was that a Klingon? And over there, was that man wearing a Battlestar Galactica uniform? That girl, was she wearing a one-piece red miniskirt with a Star Trek emblem on it? The DJ, a gray alien. A colonial marine danced with Batman? A gender-swapped Tarzan sipped drinks with the Romulan High Commander? The music shifted to a new song. A large monitor flashed images from Tron riding the light cycles. Overhead, the disco ball flashed laser lights, changing colors with the tempo. Some woman dressed in a skin-tight Tron suit grabbed my hand and pulled me onto the dance floor. I gyrated with her a minute, then moved on to a Ferengi, then a Klingon, and spent time with Conan the Barbarian, and then some sexy shirtless guy in a grass skirt holding a blue Stitch plushie. It was a chaotic collage of every science fiction movie I've ever seen, and a lot I hadn't. Spider-Man danced with Pennywise. Harley Quinn danced with King Kong. I finally caught the banner behind the DJ. The Las Vegas Con. Life was looking good. Darth Maul danced with me. It must have taken hours to apply all the body makeup, and then I slow danced with a Minbari? Couldn't tell if it was a man or a woman. A distinguished bald man in a captain's uniform handed me off to a girl in a black t-shirt that read, "This is my effing costume." They had a bar, Quark's Cheaper Cousin's Bar, and I had a mock sunrise cocktail, really some fruit smoothie and seltzer water, when I barely heard my phone beep. I text from my brother, "Where are you?" I thought about ignoring it, but some sense of familial obligation made me reply, "Sipping drinks with a Jedi." And I was. A guy dressed like Luke Skywalker from A New Hope was offering me a rebellion key fob. Dennis' reply, "You're supposed to be here." I thought about all the little white lies I could tell. It would be appropriate to keep peace, considering it was a wedding tomorrow. But the anger still knotted my stomach. And the bitterness? Definitely. Phasers at maximum, Captain. I typed a response, disliked it at once, then simply wrote, "I went somewhere gay-friendly." Some guy dressed like Shaggy, carrying a toy Scooby-Doo, asked me to dance. I said yes, hit send, and slid my phone into my pocket. Chapter 6. A little while later, I received a text, and not from a number I knew. "Jeffrey here. Got your number from my daughter. Thought you should know. Incoming. One is the groom." I was sipping my third mocktail, a bright green lime concoction simply called Green. I sent back thanks, dancing the robot with Robot. I put my phone back in my pocket, joined the mob around Robot, and let loose. I admit it, I was jealous of the guy inside the robot suit. It had little built-in fans to keep him cool. How did he keep his balance inside that thing? The music changed. A remixed love theme from Blade Runner 2049, a slow dance special. As the saxophone swelled, a voice hesitated and then said, "You are a hard person to find." Chase. My brother hovered behind him. Chapter 7. His face was pale, eyes wide and pleading, hands twitching like he was bracing for impact. Chase looked scared to death. Of me. "What do you want?" I asked. Dennis answered first. "We were going to take a picture of the groomsman, one of a series, but then we realized you weren't there. Any special reason?" I chose the lesser truth. "I'm 20, can't drink. You guys could get in a lot of trouble." "I know," Dennis said. $5,000 fine, which is why we have non-alcoholic drinks too. We've already talked about this. Now tell me the real reason." I swallowed. I didn't want to do this. Not on the eve of his wedding. My gut clenched. I tried to smile. "Don't worry about it. Go back to your party." In the background, the music belted. Shout, shout, let it all out. Dennis folded his arms and gave me the big brother stare. I used to look up to him. Used to want to do everything he did. We often did, until he went to high school and became too busy with his friends to spend time with me. I almost told him nothing was wrong. Pre-wedding nerves, a misunderstanding. But the look in his eyes, part pain, part confusion, told me he honestly didn't understand. So I focused on him and said, I overheard your conversation where none of the guys want me around because it isn't gay-friendly. I make them uncomfortable just for existing. Then I saw the note where Chase wants to avoid me, and I realized the bachelor party wasn't worth the hassle. Chase's eyes snapped to mine. He closed them, breath catching. Dennis's mouth opened, then shut again. Don't worry, I said. I'll smile at the wedding, but tonight go party with the guys, get drunk, enjoy your last night of freedom. Don't worry about me, big bro. I'll party with the galaxy. I waved at the riot of costumes and aliens around us. Some guy in a Chewbacca suit roared like he was backing me up. Dennis looked away, lips tight. You were never supposed to hear that. It's better if I don't go, I said. Dennis looked at me, eyes warm, and smile wide. I want you there. To hell with what others think. My throat tightened. This was the big brother I remembered. Chase cleared his throat. Dennis, go back to the party. Dylan and I need to talk. You sure? Dennis asked. I screwed this night up, Chase said. So yeah. Dylan, will you dance with me? Thanks, man. I watched my brother walk away, then turned to Chase. Seriously, will you dance with me? He repeated. Janeway's voice was in my head. Options, people. Walk away and play the insulted victim? Not my style. Scream and make a scene? Also not my style. Find a quiet spot so they can tell me I'm too sensitive? Absolutely not. High school déjà vu. Or take Grandma Agnes's advice. Kill them with kindness. They'll never know what hit them. And honestly, what's safer than the middle of a dance floor? Or more private? Time to show Chase what gay-friendly really meant. I took his hand and led him under the Tron light cycle projection. If we were doing this, we were doing it with style. My pocket buzzed with a text from Dennis, but I ignored it. We stood there, awkward and distant. I took control. Hands on my waist. I'll loop mine around your neck. We sway. Nothing dramatic. Nobody's listening. Nobody cares. And if you're worried people will think we're weird, look around. We're not the only same-sex couple. Trekkies are pretty liberal. Let me explain, Chase whispered. No need, I said, channeling Grandma Agnes. You and your buddies have never been around gay people. We make you uncomfortable. You believe the stereotypes. To you, we're an abstract theory you've never had to confront. Now you're dancing with one. No, he said. I want to tell you, but it's hard to say. To paraphrase Janeway, I replied. Actions first, words optional. Chase nodded, neck muscles tight. The look in his eyes, desperation, regret, something close to despair. Hit harder than I expected. Our swaying slowed. It's okay, I teased, chomping my teeth a couple of times. I promise I don't bite. Hard. He met my gaze, drew in a breath like he was gathering every ounce of courage he had left. Then he leaned in and pressed a light, tentative kiss to my lips. Brief, trembling, timid. Part of me remembered I'd said, actions first. He was only doing what I'd invited. But the louder part said, what the hell? And I pulled him close and kissed him back. It wasn't timid. It wasn't shy. Definitely not polite. The kind of kiss two boyfriends share with each other. Revenge, it turned out, wasn't cold at all. It was warm, startling, and full of fire. Chapter 8. Chase relaxed into the kiss, savoring the beauty of our closeness. His eyes shot open, and he pulled away, eyes wide, a frightened rabbit deciding whether to bolt. His lips were still damp from our kiss, but his lower lip trembled. I took his hand, surprised by how cold it was. Now is the time for words. He exhaled slowly and looked away. When Chase finally spoke, his voice was barely there. I love you. I have for a long time. The words made my eyes sting. I offered a small, steady smile but didn't speak. Chase wiped at one eye with his thumb. I'm straight, always have been, never questioned it, never crushed on a guy, not even in high school. Dennis and I have been friends for years, and then, a year ago, we had that birthday party. I remembered it instantly. Dennis's 24th, family dinner at our parents' place, neighbors, relatives, friends, including Chase. A green chocolate cake with raspberry filling and frosting roses sat on an end table. We had all sang an obnoxious happy birthday. As is tradition in our family, the birthday boy always cut the cake for everyone. Mom dished out ice cream, a vanilla fudge ripple with caramel ribbons. Chase had been in line before me, joking about how Dennis would need a cane. He took a paper plate with ice cream and a large slice of cake, then passed it to me. Our fingers touched. The look in his eyes was electric and lingered a heartbeat too long. I remember watching him that night and feeling something shift, small but unmistakable. I didn't have a name for it then. A few minutes later, I thought Chase had been looking at me. When I looked back, he snapped his gaze to something else. Too fast, too guilty. I wanted to avoid you, he whispered, voice cracking, because seeing you hurts. The music changed, a K-pop cover of Thompson Twins' Doctor, Doctor, and the room erupted into motion. A blue alien with white horns brushed past us, colliding gently with a woman painted entirely green. Someone nearby smelled like cinnamon and churros. The disco strobe washed the hall in shifting rainbows. Then the beat dropped again, heavy techno reverberating through the floor. I had to lean close to hear Chase when he spoke again. I'm straight, so falling for you was impossible. But I did. I'm sorry. His voice broke, and he wiped his eye again. I'm sorry, he mumbled. I took his hand and whispered, hold my waist and sway. Despite the pounding music, we slow danced. No words, just movement. Chase's face softened. His shoulders finally loosened. Does Dennis know? I asked. Chase's mouth opened slightly. He stopped swaying and stepped back. Dennis is furious with me. But no, he doesn't know. My anger was still there, coiled and waiting. I said nothing. Not yet. Just after your text, I checked your room, Chase continued. You weren't there. Dennis and I went looking. We figured you'd be here. We began dancing together, passing two men with t-shirts that said, I'm his clone. I took Chase's hand, glad it wasn't cold anymore. Don't you need to be at the bachelor party? Chase groaned. Damn, I forgot all about it. Dennis will yell. Come with me? It's not gay-friendly, I reminded him. The guys don't want me there. Chase groaned again. I really screwed up. I'll go, I said, leaning close to his ear, close enough to feel his warmth, close enough that he caught his breath. But you're going to make it up to me. Later. With dinner. Chase jolted, then let his head tip back for a second, like he was trying to steady himself. When he finally looked at me, a small, startled smile tugged at his mouth, like he couldn't quite believe any of this was real. Chapter 9. The bachelor party was audible even from the elevator. 11th floor, a small suite. Tonight it was the bachelor party. Tomorrow it would be the groom's changing room. Mandalay Bay was designed for weddings. 7 official wedding venues, plus ballrooms and in-suite spaces that could be converted for private ceremonies. Dennis and Stephanie had chosen the enchanted gardens on the 3rd floor. As we approached the door, a thundering beat rattled through it. Chase looked at me, then at the keycard. I imagined he was debating whether he wanted to be seen with me. Sounds like the setup to a joke. A straight man and a gay man walk into a bar. Don't worry, I said, letting go of his hand. I understand about coming out and secrecy. I'll keep my distance. I couldn't read the expression on his face. Chase slid the key card into the lock. The door clicked open into chaos, and as I stepped inside, the party died. Chapter 10. The only person who didn't look my way was my brother. He stood in the kitchenette, one finger jammed in his ear, talking loudly into his phone. It's my wedding, Dennis said. I didn't want Dylan in the party, but no, you and Mom insisted. Made it a condition before you'd even fund anything. The music was loud enough that I couldn't hear my parents' side, but I didn't need to. Dylan doesn't fit in. He's not old enough to drink, and we're straight. He's different. He's gay, a freak, and it's humiliating. A couple of the groomsmen glanced at me, then at my brother, making little gestures like they were trying to warn him. Stephanie thinks so too. If we didn't need the money, we'd have said no. Something in my chest dropped, not dramatically, just a sudden hollow weight, like missing a step in the dark. I couldn't get a full breath. Everything felt too tight, too small. Someone took my hand, warm fingers closing around mine. Chase. He gave a small squeeze and didn't let go. Found him, Chase said into the silence that somehow cut through the music. Big sci-fi conventions downstairs. Dennis ended the call, set his phone down with a little too much care. I know that look. He was angry. And honestly, I couldn't even blame him. His little brother had gone AWOL. Never mind that the guys didn't want a gay underage geek killing the vibe. I'd still messed up his night. I should have stayed quiet. It was only one weekend. Then I'd never have to see any of them again. The other groomsmen drifted around, pretending not to watch. Dennis picked up a glass of something red, swirled it, and downed it in one swallow. You heard? I nodded, unable to speak. Good. I've made a decision. Dennis smiled that customer service smile he used when he had to deal with an annoying customer. Thank you for your service, but your services are not needed any longer. One of the guys in the room raised his beer and yelled, You tell the brat to get out so we can drink. Dennis, what do you mean? I asked, yet already feeling a chill creep down my entire body. Ease up, dude, one of the groomsmen said. He's your kid brother. My cheeks began to burn. I have enough groomsmen, Dennis said. Dylan, I don't like you and I don't need you. Chase broke in. Dennis, that's rude. And then I heard nothing. Not Chase yelling or Dennis yelling back or even the music. However, Janeway's voice ran through my head. Options, people. Nothing came. My knee was shaking, and Chase's hand was still wrapped around mine. Options, people. Stand here and freeze? Great option. Options, people. Say something sharp, something that would land. My brain refused to cooperate. Options, people. Call Mom and Dad? Absolutely not. And apparently they'd paid Dennis to make me a groomsman? Had the only reason he hung with me when we were kids was because my parents were paying him? Money for babysitting the weird son? Options, people. Beam out. Honestly, the only option that made sense. I slipped my hand out of Chase's and walked out the open door, straight to the elevators, down to the main floor. And then I walked. Not toward Concon, not toward anything, just forward. Pick a direction, keep moving. A deuce bus pulled up outside the hotel. I tapped my phone, climbed aboard, and let the city roll past while I tried to remember how to breathe. Time passed, and I ended up beneath an electric circle of light 500 feet tall, the Las Vegas High Roller. I found a bench and watched it spin, and spin, and spin, for hours. I didn't want to go to the wedding, didn't want to go back to ConCon, didn't even want to stay in Vegas. Today was phasers to disintegrate. My ticket was on my phone. Everything I owned in the room was replaceable: clothes, suitcase, and the communicator badge. Actions now, words later. I checked the fastest way to the airport. Maybe they'd convert my ticket to a red-eye standby. Maybe I could just disappear onto the next flight back to Atlanta. Should I tell anybody? Why? Nobody wanted me around anyway. At the airport, I showed them my phone, explained I needed to get home early, and they put me on a standby for a flight with a short layover in Houston. By 5 a.m., I was in the air. By noon, I was in an Uber heading back to my dorm at Georgia State. Vegas, already feeling like something I dreamed. Chapter 12. It was 2 weeks after the wedding, and honestly, I hadn't answered a single text from my family. I didn't check their Facebook, didn't check their online accounts, and deleted every email or voicemail without listening. Mom and Dad had planned to spend extra time in Vegas and then road trip across the states on the way back, a kind of second honeymoon. Radio silence, at least from me. I even thought about blocking them. Maybe I still will. There was something satisfying about deleting every message, text, email, whatever, like sweeping out a room I'd been living in too long. Even the letter Stephanie sent. I held it for a long time, debating whether to burn it, watch the edges curl and blacken. Instead, I wrote, "Does not live here," across the front, and dropped it back in the mailbox. Return to sender. So I wouldn't be a liar, I swapped rooms with a buddy who was having roommate issues. Did I read any texts, or respond to anyone, or answer their calls? Nope. Dennis was the exception. I blocked him everywhere I could find. Something didn't sit right about my parents paying family to be my family. It left a sour taste in my mouth, or my brain, or both. What's so special about 2 weeks beside it being about a month out from finals? I got a text from Mom inviting me to a family dinner. She wanted me to bring French baguettes. I typed 10-page essay due, won't make it, and then deleted it. Best not to respond. Mom sent something else. I deleted it without reading. 2 days later, Dad texted, "Did you move? What's your new address? We need to talk in person." Deleted. Saturday came and went. More texts, more calls, more voicemails. All trashed. I didn't want to talk to any of them. Mom sent another text the day after the dinner. "I know you're hurting. We didn't mean any harm. Dennis wants to apologize." I almost asked how much they were paying him, but I kept silent and deleted it. It was nearly 4 weeks after the wedding when things changed. I came home from my part-time shift at Bixby's Electronics and found someone waiting at my door. He wasn't simply waiting. He sat with his back to the wall listening to something on his phone. As I approached, he stood, sliding his phone into his pocket. With a nervous shuffle, he ran his fingers through his hair. A bouquet of white roses and chrysanthemums appeared in his hand. Chase had tracked me down. Chapter 13. For a moment, I held my breath, unsure of how I feel. My mouth betrayed me. It smiled. Chase's lips betrayed him. He smiled too, though he looked at me with the earnest eyes of a puppy. I unlocked the door. My roommate sat at his desk, stereo headphones covering his ears. When he saw us, he murmured, "You owe me pizza," and left. I landed my backpack on my desk chair, sat down on my bed, and patted next to it. Chase sat. Unsure how to break the awkward silence, I opened with, "How'd you find me?" Chase gave a nervous chuckle. Told your old roommate I met you in Vegas and wanted to ask you out. I had your new dorm address in seconds. He made me promise I wouldn't give it to your family. I took his hand, surprised it was so warm. It's good to see you. Did you hear about Dennis and Stephanie? He asked. No, I've deleted everything. It was total karma, Chase said. When I realized you had left, I went to your room and couldn't find you. I wasn't the only one who left. 2 of the other 3 groomsmen left, as well as half the other guys. You left? I asked. Chase nodded. Stephanie saw the video of Dennis and what he said. She dumped him before the wedding, saying if that's how he treated family, then she didn't want to be his family. How did Dennis handle it? Said it was the alcohol talking and it's not his fault. Stephanie said that drunks are honest because the alcohol removes the filter. They still together? Dennis is trying, but your folks are beyond furious. Word is Stephanie's folks are disgusted. As if remembering what he was holding, Chase held the flowers before me. These are for you? White roses? I smiled. Don't they mean apology? This is me apologizing for that night. If I had suspected it would have gone so bad, I'd never have let us leave the dance floor. That was fun, I said, taking the flowers. My roommate had a 48-ounce travel mug. I filled it with water from the connected bathroom and placed the flowers in it. As I sat next to Chase, we shared a glance, and I said, I like dancing with you. I'm still straight, he said, his voice catching. Except, when I'm with you. The words made my heart thunder and made a part of me lighter. The room smelled of pizza rolls and Doritos. Chase opened his mouth like he wanted to say something. Or perhaps he wanted something else. Options, people, Janeway's voice ordered in my head. Maybe I could hold his hand, and then maybe lean into him, and then I would kiss him. Or I could do all 3 and see where it goes. With a trembling heart, I did all 3, and more. Chapter 14. By November, Chase and I talked about moving in together. I spent hours at his apartment, or he came to my dorm. 2 days before Thanksgiving, a letter in a green envelope came. It was addressed to my previous address, and my old roommate had forwarded it. My first impulse was to burn it. Instead, I slid a finger under the flap and carefully opened it. The scent hit me first. Floral. Mom's special occasion perfume. I sighed. Of course Mom perfumed the invitation. Of course she did. It was an invitation to my family's Thanksgiving dinner. Not just any invitation, but something you'd expect for a wedding. The words were written in a swirling cursive script. The card had gold edges and 2 cute Francois Boucher cherubs floating around. I might not be an artist, but I didn't flunk art history. Mom's gotten good with publisher. A handwritten note was scrawled underneath the fancy letters. Let's make a fresh start and become a family again. Signed, Mom and Dad. P.S. Bring 3 dozen dinner rolls. RSVP. I hadn't spoken or contacted my family for months, not since the bachelor party. Dennis had not reached out to Chase, even though they were once best friends. I showed it to Chase. His comment? We already said yes to my folks. I like Chase's family. They raised a few eyebrows when Chase introduced me as his boyfriend. 2 minutes and a glass of peach schnapps later, I'm 21 now, and the awkwardness was gone. However, Mom's card rung the guilt gong. I should have burned it. Chase rubbed my shoulders. What do you want to do? I thought for a moment. Grandma Agnes had once said, Families start when you pick your husband. Everybody else is just noise. Why not pick your entire family? I pinned a quick note on my laptop. Won't be stopping by. You haven't paid Dennis enough money because he hasn't apologized yet. Better hurry, or I won't send you invitations to our wedding. I could hear the pause as Chase's brain struggled to catch up. He snickered. We haven't discussed anything like that. Fighting the flutter of fear in my stomach, I reached under my bed and retrieved the black velvet box I'd hidden. Chase went bug-eyed. You're my family, so say yes. I leaned over within serious flirting distance. Besides, you don't want to make a liar out of me. The end. Thanks for listening, my friends. Bentley and I enjoyed this chance to sit a spell with all of you. Make sure you come on back next week. I love you all. Peace, my friends.